Joyride, 1957, a novel of intrigue by J.P. Wasmiller, Chapter 4. James rolled through New Brunswick and headed east on Highway 95. It was nearly sunset, and the glare off of his mirror occasionally blinded him. He wasn't paying much attention and did not notice the 1957 Dodge Regent pass him and move a few miles ahead. The Laurentian stayed behind him. He still did not notice the significance of either car. By the time they reached the U.S.-Canadian border, the dark blue and white Laurentian had passed him as well. To his surprise, there was a line of cars waiting to cross. He eased into line and did notice the blonde in the car ahead of him. After scrutinizing her, he realized she was the same blonde he had seen at the restaurant, and then also realized she had been his maid at the motel. His gray matter started to spin, and he began to wonder what was going on. Felt for the stone in his pocket and rubbed it, reassuring himself that it had not jumped out of the window all by itself. Just then the maid opened the car door of the Pontiac Laurentian and stepped out. She was a gorgeous blonde, and he guessed she must have been 5'10" and weighed some 200 pounds. She was built like you remember the term he and his friends used for that type of girl in college. She stared his way but did not smile. He stared back, but then looked down, still puzzled as to why she was on his trail. He hoped she had the hots for him, but feared that was not the case. He had been in line for an hour by now. He needed to use the bathroom and got out of his car and wandered into the border building and relieved himself. He then stared outside. There were a few Canadian patrol cars on the Canadian side and a few American patrol cars on the American side. His nerves were fraying while he waited, and he was becoming more and more concerned about what his new girlfriend was up to. He was due in Rhode Island by tomorrow. He wasn't going to make it, but didn't want her or anything else holding him up. He decided he better take matters into his own hands. The line had not moved. He went back to his car, grabbed his bag from the back seat, and walked slowly across the border. No one seemed to take notice, but his girlfriend and the driver of the green Dodge did. James eased into the driver's seat of an American patrol car, a black and white 57 Ford Fairlane. He expected this ride had the 312 cubic inch police special engine. The key was in it, and he started it up. He put it in gear and he eased out of the lot. Still, no one seemed to notice him, that is, except his girlfriend. He noticed her long hair and her wide hips in his rearview mirror. He eased the Ford up to the limit and kept it at 55 miles an hour. The sky was now dark as he passed through Holton, Maine. He took the patrol car back up to speed and rolled west on Highway 2. He would stop somewhere in Maine and get to Rhode Island by tomorrow evening. Soon he noticed car lights in his mirror. After a few miles, he realized the lights were not gaining on him, so he kept the Fairlane at 55. After about 20 minutes, he came up behind his semi. The sign on the back of the tall trailer read, "Don't tailgate." He wanted to get around the semi, but the road was curvy. The car behind began to close, and he finally risked it. He slammed the pedal to the floor, his neck snapping back, and he roared around the Mack diesel. Kept the Ford floored for a couple miles. Soon he saw some lights in his rearview mirror. Suddenly he felt a tremendous jolt, glass shattering and a sensation of flying. Then his body hit something and he blacked out. The next thing he knew, a man in a red cap was standing over him. "Hey, mister, you okay?" the voice said. "I was in the truck behind you and saw you hit that bull moose at full speed. You must have been ejected. Are you okay?" James tried to stand but felt woozy and sat back down on a rock. "Mister, most folks that hit a moose up here in the Northland are killed. You are very lucky." "Can you walk? I'll take you on into Bangor and you can see a doctor." "No, doctor, I'll be fine. Could you grab my bag from my car?" He felt for the stone, and to his relief, it was still in his pocket. "You're a cop. Where do you live?" I'm off duty. Live up north. Bridgewater? Caribou? Caribou. Well, I gotta head south with my load, but you can probably get a ride home in the morning. Thanks a lot. James reached to grasp the trucker's hand, but winced in pain from his right rib cage. It then began to hurt with each breath. He somehow got up into the passenger side of the red Mack diesel cab. The driver eased the semi onto the highway and worked his way through the gears until the Detroit diesel was singing its favorite tune. The ride of the Mack was a lot rougher than the Fairlane, and with each bump, James' rib pain seemed to escalate. He winced and cried out softly, but the driver couldn't hear over the diesel's roar and the wail of Hank Snow on the AM radio.